We are live. I'm solo tonight. Mark is off coaching the youth of the future, coaching the future football stars of America, and I am here to talk about. I don't actually have that up yet, but I'm here to talk about how we can start to make America healthy again. Now, I know. Everybody's going to be like, "Oh my God, RFK has it handled," and I'm not saying that he doesn't. I'm just going to try to say very clearly what I think are the first few steps we should take, and then maybe talk about a few other things. And then I'm going to go have a great evening. Our opinion show is our opinion, by the way. We like to back things up with facts and ideas. So anybody that wants to come on the show and challenge, if you think that you can, please do. But I'm going to state for the record that in order to make America healthy again, a few things absolutely need to happen, like almost immediately. And one of the first things that needs to happen almost immediately is that we need to make it so, and let me blow this up for you a little bit. It's a little better. We need to make it so that we make it illegal for pharmaceutical companies to advertise on television and in social media. There is no reason for pharmaceutical industries to advertise anything. They already have drug dealers. They already have doctors. They already have people whose first line of defense for most of the chronic and mental illnesses is to prescribe something. If you need that something, you should not need to ask your doctor about it. It's one of the things I find so unbelievably amazing of how stupid Americans have gotten. When you hear a commercial say, ask your doctor about this drug, if you go and ask your doctor about the drug and your doctor says, yeah, we can put you on it, why the fuck were you not on it already? It's amazing to me how people don't see this. So if you should be on the drug and you're not on the drug, by the way, that's malpractice. If you don't need to be on the drug and you just want to be on the drug, that's just drug dealing. Like, get there faster, people. But we need to make it illegal. And here's why this is the biggest and hardest step. Because this would, in effect, it would literally, in effect, absolutely tank mainstream legacy media. And they will fight back against this extremely, extremely hard. I have a shorter video about this on my X and on my my Instagram, the MFing COO. And there is so much money tied into this and so many industries. It just cascades across everywhere. But this would have a definite effect literally on our economy, because it is billions of dollars a year that is being siphoned to mainstream media, legacy media companies to advertise, quote unquote, for pharmaceuticals. Now, I will argue that that's not advertisement, that is narrative control payments. If they pay CNN 75% of their total ad revenue budget comes from the pharmaceutical industry, if all of a sudden we don't have that, CNN goes out of business. Nobody can take a 75% reduction in their revenue. It just is not possible. And CNN is not going to get new advertisers because they're just kind of fucking horrible. But they will fight tooth and nail. You don't think that they will lie? You don't think that they will do something? They'll lose out on everything. So they have no more control. Like, basically, the pharmaceutical industry that was paying 75% of the ad revenue to basically make it so that they had approval preference on what was put on the show. Does anybody wonder why a few years ago, especially, like, it was all pharma all the time? Everything was brought to you by Pfizer. And if it's brought to you by Pfizer, do you think anybody's going to be allowed to question Pfizer on it? Do you think that even if Pfizer wouldn't say, hey, don't let anybody question us, do you think the people that are taking all this money from Pfizer are going to let somebody speak negatively about Pfizer? Like, I know we've gotten to be extremely stupid in America, but come on, people, that is just next level dumb. You've got to kind of grasp the fact that these are not advertising. They don't need to advertise drugs. One more time, they have drug dealers. They are called doctors. They already have the pusher man. They already have you on the comeback. They already know you're sick. They already know you're fat. They already know you're weak. They already know that you're terrified of the consequences of your poor lifestyle. They know this. They know this because they are coupled with the food companies who are, in fact, providing you with a bad lifestyle by giving you basic poison instead of actual food. And we're going to talk about that in a second because that is going to be step 2. But they absolutely, first bat, the thing that needs to happen absolutely first is that they need to make it illegal, just like almost every other country in the motherfucking world, to advertise pharmaceutical drugs on TV. It's wild that we allow it to happen. It's just amazing. I mean, when you think about it, though, it makes sense why Barack Obama in 2012 made it so that the media is allowed to actually push propaganda. So they can, push the propaganda for things like the jab and stuff like that. And that's a fact. You can look that shit up too. So RFK comes into office, or Trump comes into office. RFK gets appointed head of Health and Human Services, right? And then he sends out people to be in charge of the FDA, the CDC, hopefully shuttering the CDC, because the CDC serves almost no purpose. Its title is the Center for Disease Prevention and Control. What diseases has it prevented or controlled? Since its inception in like the 60s, we've only gotten fatter, sicker, more cardiovascular disease, more cancer, more death, more strokes, more arthritis, more everything. They've controlled or prevented zero disease. Zero. If anything, they have actually perpetuated situations that would cause people to be sicker, such as when they were suggesting that everybody should stay inside and never go outside and stay out of the sun, and make sure you just don't do anything, sit and watch the fear porn that is happening on TV. That's what they wanted, So basically, that is the biggest step, and it is going to be the step that has the most pushback. That is going to take I don't believe that it's going to be it won't make it through Congress, because most of the politicians in Congress owned by the pharmaceutical industries. It's going to take an executive order of some kind, and that will be a very big pushback. Like very, 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 there will be extremely loud pushback on that, because again, not only does it break the control of the healthcare industrial complex over the narrative of those things, but it also, to a great degree, absolutely destroys legacy media. It is the death nail in the coffin of legacy media. If legacy media no longer has advertising from big drug, they're done. Done. Like they would have almost no budget left. They're done. The next thing that would need to happen, and this is just, I'm going to put this out there. People get this is such a weird thing how people get so upset about this. But we're going to talk about that here in a minute. But I oftentimes talk about how sugar should be seen as an addictive substance. We need to absolutely label processed sugar as the addictive substance that it is. We market a highly addictive substance to children. It's wild to me that people cannot seem to grasp this, but processed sugar is clearly an addictive substance, and here is the case made for it. I used Grok, the AI for X, but I also ran this through Chat GPT and came up with very similar aspects. But when people argue my stance that processed sugar should be viewed as a drug, here's the breakdown of why sugar should be considered a drug from AI. Addictive properties. Dopamine release. Consuming sugar triggers the release of dopamine, a neurotransmitter associated with pleasure and reward. This mechanism is similar to how addictive drugs like nicotine and cocaine activate the brain's reward system, especially repeated consumption to experience the same pleasurable effects. That's a drug. Craving and binging. Studies have shown that people can develop intense cravings for sugary food, often leading to binge eating behavior, just as drugs. Overconsumption of sugar can lead to tolerance effect, requiring larger amounts to achieve the same satisfaction, just like drugs. Withdrawal symptoms. Physical and emotional withdrawal. People who reduce or eliminate sugar from their diet often experience withdrawal symptoms such as headaches, irritability, fatigue, and mood swings. much like what happens when people quit addictive substances like caffeine, nicotine, and certain drugs. Relapse and loss of control. Many individuals struggle to reduce the sugar intake, often relapsing after trying to quit or reduce consumption, similar to patterns of drug addiction. I coach in my non-evening rants capacity. My wife and I coach morbidly obese people, people with binge eating disorder, people with food addiction, people with disordered eating. We coach them to healthier habits. We have many people that have sugar addiction, and we treat it by obviously just going, trying to go cold turkey, but we also have some supplements that help out with it. We help them with their hydration, their sleep, but there is no stopping these horrible side effects. We've had multiple people almost have to get hospitalized for basically DTs, detoxification, coming off of sugar. We've had clients come to us drinking 3 liters of soda a day, 3 liters of soda a day. And when you are that into your drug of choice, there is no weaning off. That is a cold turkey, and you're just going to have to grip it and rip it type thing. And it's horrible. It sucks for them. Cold and flu-like symptoms, sweats, fever, aches, pains, cramps, literally DTs. Sugar is a drug that we market to children. Impact on the brain. Alteration of brain chemistry. Sugar has been shown to change the brain structure and function, particularly in the areas involved in decision-making, impulse control, and reward processing. Long-term overconsumption of sugar can alter the brain's natural response to food, leading to compulsive eating patterns. Desensitization. Frequent sugar consumption desensitizes the brain's reward system, similar to how certain drugs diminish the brain's response to stimuli, causing users to seek more of the substance to achieve the same effect. Like cocaine, it's a drug. This is a drug. Sugar is a drug. Get it. Get there. Get there. Negative health consequences. Obesity and metabolic disorder. Excessive sugar consumption is linked to a host of serious health issues, including obesity, type 2 diabetes, heart disease, and non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. I would also add to that osteoarthritis, stroke, and many types of vein and circulatory disorders. It can also have a bad effect on oral health, but the health risks with the actual chronic illnesses, all of them that are plaguing our country to the tune of probably 1.7 million deaths a year, and probably a shared societal burden of $3.5 to $3.8 trillion a year. Sugar is linked to all of it. But that's why maybe we shouldn't start them out young and start giving sugar to, I don't know, infants, because you're giving an infant a drug. And don't get me wrong, when my child was below 18 and a kid, we didn't have sugar very often just because it wasn't our thing, but he still had sugar. And I look back on it like, maybe we should have waited till he was 18. He's fine, but maybe we should have waited, because the more I learn about this, the more it's very clear that sugar is an addictive substance that we are straight marketing to children. Societal and economic burden, public health crisis, much like other addictive substances. And I love how the AI actually said other addictive substances, pretty much admitting that sugar is an addictive substance. The overconsumption of sugar has created a public health crisis, particularly in the context of rising rates of obesity and chronic disease, which have significant social and economic costs. So if we want to make America healthy again, RFK, and I'd love to help you with this, especially because me and Mark said make America healthy again like 3 years ago, had shirts printed up. We love that you're bringing up the phrase, but we'd like in on the we'd like in to help you, because you need people like us, because this has to be done like through culture also. The overconsumption of sugar has created a public health crisis, particularly in the context of rising obesity rates and chronic disease, which have significant social and economic costs. Sugar consumption drives billions of dollars of healthcare spending, trillions actually, akin to the costs associated with smoking and alcohol abuse. Aggressive marketing. The sugar industry, much like tobacco and alcohol industries, heavily markets its products to consumers, oftentimes vulnerable populations like children. This parallels the tactics used by industries pushing addictive products. Regulatory comparisons. Potential for regulation. Governments regulate drugs and substances based on their potential for harm, addiction, and public health impact. We have already proven in this little phrase here that sugar has absolute high potential for harm, addiction, and public health impact. Given sugar's role in fostering addictive-like behaviors and causing widespread health problems, some argue that it should be regulated more strictly, such as through taxation, warning labels, and limits on advertising. I will tell you this, we should at very least stop subsidizing it. At the very least, we should stop subsidizing the sugar industry because we're using taxpayer dollars to help with their profit line when we are the ones that are bearing the brunt of the negative effects of these many people that get addicted to this addictive substance. Conclusion, the argument for sugar as a drug rests on its potential for addiction, its effects on brain chemistry, and its contribution to public health crisis. While sugar may not fit the legal or traditional definition of a drug, its impact on behaviors and health could warrant stronger regulation and treatment similar to substances that are recognized as harmful. Now, I am going to say this real quick. I don't think we need more regulation on this. I think we just need to make it so we as a people view sugar as the fucking addictive substance it is. I do want to make sure that people understand that I don't think we should be subsidizing the corn industry, the soy industry, the wheat industry, or the sugar industry. If we're subsidizing anything, we should subsidize local family-owned farmers that literally are American citizens only on farms in the United States. We should be subsidizing them so they can turn a massive profit and lower the prices of beef, local produce, and things of that nature, instead of sugar, soy, wheat, and corn, which are all subsidized. So ultra-processed foods, including sugar products, can be much cheaper than what they would be. We subsidize the corn, wheat, and soy industry anywhere from $15 billion to $30 billion a year. We subsidize it by $10 billion a year. The profit margin for these three industries, the corn, wheat, and soy industry, is $15 to $30 billion a year. So the low end estimate of $15 billion a year of profit is larger than what we subsidize. So if we subsidize by $10 billion and they're making profit of $15 billion, why are we just giving them $10 billion of taxpayer money as profit? So we need to end all subsidies for any foods that create ultra-processed foods. We then need to tax sugar and ultra-processed foods to the tune of about 20 to 25%. And when I say sugar, I mean processed sugar. And any ultra-processed food up to 20, 25%. And that tax money can then go to also local farmers to drop the costs of produce, poultry, beef, pork, locally grown, raised, sustainable fashion. Make it so it can be in a sustainable fashion so it's good for the environment, and make it so it's just local citizen-owned farms. That is a suggestion I have about sugar. The next thing we would need to do, give me 1 second, because I've been on a roll with this. And this is the next thing we would need to do. We need to make it so that social media entities don't pay people like this woman to make content like this of them literally abusing themselves. Literally abusing themselves. There is no different than this. Watch her eyes roll back. Watch her eyes roll back. Look how much she loves it. That is the face of an addict. And she's getting paid to basically do what a drug addict does, feed their fix. She's getting paid by a social media entity to film herself and broadcast this out, how she eats as a 500-pound woman, how she eats this. She's eating with a fucking serving spoon, people. This woman is an addict. She is addicted to this food. We need to accept this. The sooner we can accept that, the sooner we can accept that people like her, that people that eat this way, this much food, people that get themselves to 500 pounds, they have addiction. They are absolutely addicted to food. Somebody that big has likely binge eating disorder and or some sort of food addiction. Period. Nobody can say that they don't, because very frankly, they are doing things to themselves that are detrimental and they know it. They can physically see the changes and they physically feel it. You're 500 pounds. You do not move as well as a person that's not 500 pounds. So we need to hold social media companies accountable for these types of behaviors. And meaning, I'm a free speech absolutist, but I don't believe that we should be paying people to post up harmful content on the internet, especially on places like TikTok and on Instagram, which is mostly fucking children. Just completely crazy. So that is my take on how to help RFK get started. I would love to do, we could go into a lot more on ways that we could start pushing for removing all the regulations so people can have their own, raise their own meat on their land. The government should not be able to tell you that you can't raise rabbits, chicken, anything like that on your property, ever. They should not be able to tell you what you do on your land. The government should have almost no fucking say about that shit at all. The fact that we allow it to happen goes completely against the Constitution. It's fucking weird to me that we allow that shit to happen. But on to the next topic that I wanted to talk about, and I'm gonna, just so everybody knows, if you are, I want everybody to know, if you guys are on YouTube, please switch over to the MFing COO or at Mark Lobliner on Twitter, or go to the Rumble page, because I'm about to get off of YouTube right now, because I'm going to talk about something very bluntly that I do not want to be on YouTube, because even though that we're not making any money from that YouTube channel, I don't want to get another strike on it. So we are going to go off of it, and I'm going to go off of it right now. So make sure to come on over if you want to watch, but we're going to